I've taken my glasses off in the image. Just to scare you.
Yeah, new picture.
Yep. Well, I thought that one's about 12 years old. I thought it's about time I came up to date.
I'm not even sure what picture shows up when you use Skype now, because it uses your live ID. Or
Yeah, I think you can still set a Skype picture.
Yeah.
But,
right, let's link out.
it's good small. It doesn't look quite so good blown up. It's a bit blurry, blown up, but it's taken me doing my presentation the other week.
I don't know what's happened. Oh, no, that was his message was from a while ago.
Aha, hello.
Ah, there you go. Right. I got a message saying Surface isn't ringing, but I checked and that's the 24th.
I got you.
Yeah. I realised what the time was. I'm still eating my dinner.
Well, because I record a bit later, I was kind of relaxed downstairs. I was actually watching a bit of the Endurance Championship from Silverstone that when I was there, so I was sort of watching the recording of it. And nice, right? And then the kids come down at 10 past and said, "What about our cooking stuff for tomorrow?" What cooking stuff? Well, we need sweet corn, a pepper, 8 mushrooms. Oh God! So I've been out, been shopping, and back again for 29 minutes past 8.
Well done.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It's lovely when they do that, isn't it?
Yeah, they said, "Well, we told you about it 2 weeks ago." that it's true, they did. But yeah, I wouldn't mind. I've already went shopping on the way home, so I've been twice now. Very good.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that it's telling me there's no people in this call. I've got 0 people in the call. It's been going 4 minutes and 31 seconds and there's no people in it.
Well, I should say, Jason and Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we all just made it.
Yes. It's one of those rushing nights.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right. Yeah.
I even listened to last week's show on the way home on the train.
I don't think we even said anything about you, did we?
No, the only thing you mentioned obviously was my my Surface server post.
Yes.
Thanks for mentioning that. And also I definitely kind of got the impression of the way you were talking that from your posts on the digital lifestyle that it's a much quieter show.
Yes, it definitely was, and I think on press day it's always fairly quiet anyway. A massive difference from the public days where I've been before with the kids. But I think, as we said last week, the main difference is there were no big companies there apart from Dyson. I would say I think that Dyson was probably the only corporate that I can think of being there.
Pebble.
Yeah.
I guess you can class Pebble as a fairly large company now.
Yeah.
Dyson weren't showing off their Roomba equivalent, were they?
No.
Were.
Oh, I didn't see that. I only saw them showing off the Hoovers.
Yeah, they was the Roomba was up. The Roomba was upstairs. You had to get almost get invited to get there.
I think I kind of agree with your comment that for some reason I think the popularity of the gadget show is waning a little, and I think they've only got themselves to blame. I think they've been changing the format so much and bringing back old presenters, and I don't think they've quite found their stride from when the original kind of what I would call the original 4 kind of went their separate ways, and it went down to just the 2 of them.
Yeah, and they did that weird thing, and I don't know whether they still do it because I haven't watched it for a while, of kind of interviewing themselves mid-piece, which I find really off-putting. And I know that reality shows do that all the time.
Yeah.
But I found it really odd that they would be talking about this device and then they'd intersect that with bits of them talking about them filming the bits, and it was all a little, I don't know, maybe I'm just old-fashioned, and I like the old way of doing it, and I must admit I haven't watched it since. But I guess the biggest problem they've got is that maybe their target market, like my sons, are not in the slightest bit interested.
Yeah, and I think it was always originally kind of a bit of a Top Gear for gadgets in a way. It was always really expensive stuff that you kind of like to, you don't get to see otherwise. And it was also they'd do things that were also kind of quite relevant. So they'd do kind of top 5s or sound bars and things like that. Whereas I think last week's, which I actually record and didn't even bother watching was there was like a challenge for each presenter, and one of them was like, can I beat a professional golfer, and can I beat a professional, not professional, but a chocolatier, and I just thought, no, I'm not interested. I actually deleted it before I even watched it. So, I'm not necessarily saying I'm their core audience, but as a kind of a techie geek, then of course I would expect it should appeal to me, but it doesn't.
And I think the show's biggest, the live shows, the from our biased opinion perhaps, is Microsoft, and they didn't used to be there, but for the last few years they had, and they really added a good presence to it, and a lot of you could have a look at a lot of laptops and tablets, and they had all the phones were there as well. So I think that, and Surface was there, and I think that sort of that made it feel smaller, and also Sony as well, because Sony always had a good presence.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And obviously, recently Windows was a sponsor of the Gadget Show, and they featured Surfaces on the screen. I think last year there was Surfaces everywhere, wasn't there?
Yes, I know, and also Surfaces. Microsoft do a good job getting these in product placements. I started watching the new Daredevil on Netflix, and the bad guys use a Surface to threaten them and to threaten people. So they're showing a video of this cop's loved one being targeted. If you don't do what I say, she gets it, kind of thing. And they used the Surface to torment him, which is very nice product placement.
Yes.
I noticed Coronation Street have them in. Grey's Anatomy is absolutely full of them. It's all used in loads of places in product placement. They're doing quite well with that. All bad guys seem to favour the Surface.
Yeah, and also things like Emmerdale. There's Windows phones everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe I thought maybe the bad guys are using SQL Server clusters on their Surface to organise their racketeering.
Yes, all properly encrypted data, of course, and fully protected.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, there were some nice little bits of things, like the recreated Spectrum, which I've got the video up for that now, which was good, and the projectors, and there were a few nice little bits and pieces, but there wasn't anything too exciting.
Yeah, it did seem to be, like I say, much quieter affair. So I guess we have to wait for next year to see if they can pick it up again. I
did somehow manage to walk about 6 miles though. I think the band said 6 miles, although that was well beaten by my walking around Silverstone on Sunday, where we got to 9.5 miles.
Woo!
With the kids as well.
Yeah. Hey, that's good stuff.
Yeah. I got to give that a mention as well. That was a fantastic day, and I know most listeners probably aren't interested in particularly, but if you are interested in motor racing, the World Endurance Championship at Silverstone, featuring very high-tech cars using lots of kinetic recoveries, supercapacitors, batteries, flywheels, and very high-tech cars. Was a great £35 entry, free roam everywhere, including the pits and the VIP centre and all the grandstands and everything. So a really good day. And with it was a 6-hour endurance race, so you could kind of watch it from one place, go take camera, go somewhere else. And I used the FM radio on my Lumia for the first time to listen to the commentary. And actually, a good time. The stepson that came with me, he's got a Galaxy S5, and his battery ran out by about 4 o'clock, and my Lumia was on 76% when we got to the car at sort of 6:30. So
that's good going.
Yeah, the battery just shows you the difference in Android. And I took my Nexus actually because they've got a live timing app, which but my Nexus ran out of battery as well. So I was just using the website on my phone, which was perfectly fine. So worked very well, the Lumia on there. But anyway, just say it's a very good day at Silverstone if you're interested in that kind of thing. Right, so what we've got to talk about, we can talk about a couple of videos I've posted. We've got some Microsoft band stuff, some MB stuff, and Windows 10. We've got a new Windows 10 build. I think we can start with that. So Microsoft, I think just after we recorded last week, they announced they were going to release a build on Friday, and there it turned up. Now, we knew already that the list of phones was a bit wider, but I still think yours wasn't supported, was it?
No, the 930 and the Icon, which was on the original list of phones that were going to be supported, was also kind of pulled at the kind of last minute, mostly due to the particular resolution of those screens. I think there was also the 640 XL I saw mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Again, due to screen scaling issues. And I know the 930. I mean, it's got a 1080p screen, but it's still, I think, only a 5-inch device. So I guess there's obviously some issues going on there. And at the end of the day, the Windows 10 for mobile devices is designed to scale from anything between, I think I can't remember what the minimum is, but certainly up to kind of 7.9 inches. So I guess they've got a lot of ground to cover.
I think the funniest thing about that preview was the number of different names I heard it called. We said Windows 10 for mobile devices. The best one I thought was Windows 10 mobile for phones and small tablets. Because it covers all the bases, doesn't it? Really?
Absolutely, yeah, it ticks all the boxes.
So this is obviously this preview was only for the phone. We haven't had a desktop one yet. But have you tried it, Ian? Because
yes.
I didn't dare risk it on my daily driver.
Well, that was the thing.
You're very wise.
Yes, I think you are very wise, actually. I wouldn't have put it on my daily machine either, but I've got the 630 that I've been using for testing, and I installed it on that, and I seem to be one of the few people that got it working straight away. They did seem to have a lot of issues around the provisioning, but I think if you already had the previous build on there, you're okay.
Yeah, if you were already in the fast ring, it was either joining the preview program the insider program, or switching from the slow to the fast ring.
Yeah,
there was an issue with it issuing tokens, and yeah, like Gary, really, it's not something that I'd risk on my daily use phone, but I am willing to risk it on my son's daily use phone.
I like that idea.
I do. I like that as well. Yeah.
So yes, I have had some experience with it. And some of the UI does look very almost like a HTML page rendered. They've definitely got some spit and polish to do.
Yes, I mean, I like I said, the install went pretty quickly on mine and worked quite well. I'll show it on the video there. So you can see it installed and everything okay, but I have to say it's really sluggish. So if I hold the back button down here, 1, 2. Right, it's sort of 2 seconds. So switch apps, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's that kind of delay, and I don't know whether I didn't notice it on the previous build, and I didn't notice it when it was on 8.1. And because I've got the 1520, which is a pretty powerful processor compared to 630, I really notice it because the 1520, everything is instant. So a lot of things don't work. And also it reboots an awful lot. So you load Twitter and nothing happens, and still nothing happens, and then nothing happens, and then you feel the vibrate of doom, and then it comes up with the Nokia logo, and you know it's rebooted. I mean, I'm not complaining, but like you said, you wouldn't put this on your daily driver because it would drive you mad. And look, and Cortana doesn't work. And I think there's issues with the memory management on the small devices like this 630 with the 512 memories. I think that seems to be the main issue.
I think you just described my 930 on a Music Gear drive. That's what I get every day.
So what's changed? What did I see? Oh, well, Spartan Browser's on there. Project Spartan Browser.
There's definitely quite a few things, isn't there? I mean, like you said, there's Spartan, there's the first preview of the email application, the new calendar application. I think so. There's certainly plenty to take a look at, but it's all definitely very early days.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I've just loaded. It's not too bad, I suppose. I've just loaded Spartan. It's just come on now. But Spartan Browser actually works better. The Spartan Browser is better on the phone than it is on the desktop at the moment. I find the desktop one to be really unreliable. And I think this one is definitely better, this build, because it's probably just a later build, although it's just crashed. It's just dropped back to the menu. I still prefer the browser bar at the bottom, but I think that's something Microsoft have heard that feedback. So whether we'll see that change or not, I don't know. I don't know what I was surprised. Probably in the final build, it'll be a switch. But anyway, the reading mode works quite well on it. So you can hit the reading mode and it gives you that sort of rendered view of it. I said Spartan Browser works quite well, but it's actually not working at all now. So, so this is the kind of issues that I hit. You know, 1 minute it's working, next minute it kind of doesn't work, but it's coming on now. I found a lot of the dialog boxes are hard to read. So, like a box will come up and the text is all squashed up. So I guess there's still a lot of work to be done on the resolution side of things. Like the People app, for example, when you there's a lot of things overlap over each other, so you can't enter the data in the box. So I don't know, I can remember exactly which screen it is, but if you go into the People app and you start searching for a person, that's it. Yeah, and I'll show this on the video. But the keyboard comes up and some black box comes up and obscures the box that you're typing in. So if I search for Jason, I can't see what I'm typing because the box is obscured, partly obscured. So, it's just little things like that. But I guess that's part of this issue they're having with screen scaling. So things like that. What else is there? There's the new email app seems quite nice. I do like that. Although I did see some people sort of criticizing that sort of grey look that it's got, but I quite like it actually. I thought that was all right. The Outlook Mail is, and there's a new messaging app, but again I had some issues with the scaling of the screen on that one. But it looks so far, it's it looks nice. You can see there's more changes than the last build anyway. Gary, have you tried it?
No, I haven't. I've certainly seen it in use. A couple of people I was hanging around some Microsofties the other day, and they were busy using it. I do like the new mail client. I think it's got some really nice features. The one thing though, someone was telling me off the record was that there was some problems with multiple mail accounts. I don't know if you've come across that. Do you use multiple mail accounts?
Yes, I do actually, and I tried it actually, and it seemed I had no problems with that. You can't have a combined view,
right?
But then I've got quite used to not having that because I do like to keep my personal email separate from my work email anyway. So that's not really a problem. So no, I've not had any issues with that.
So, okay, I would be happy with a separate view. I don't really want a combined view for my different types of mail. I certainly have personal mail and business mail I'd like to keep separate.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I don't actually know what the issue was, but they just said there was an issue switching between multiple mail accounts, but whether that might be something they would seem just specifically on their machine.
There's a Universal Maps app as well.
Oh, right.
Which is the same app, obviously, as the desktop one.
So when do you think we're going to get these clients in the desktop builds?
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say there has been some leak builds, isn't there? I think is it 10,056? I think I've seen people talking about that have got these applications in them. So I think we're getting close. I think we might see potentially another fast ring drop maybe within the next here we go, prediction time, maybe the next week or so. Although one thing I'm not clear on is whether or not they'll always kind of release the slow ring before we get another build on the fast ring.
I didn't think they were supposed to, but that seems to be the way they're going. So
because in some ways, I mean, I don't use this last official build on a daily basis, but I know the two main issues they've got, one with Hyper-V and I can't remember what the other one was now, but they've both been resolved with patches. So that's normally the point where they release them to the slow ring, but I'm not aware of any other major issues. I mean, I know you said that Spartan isn't particularly stable, but I'm not sure if that would necessarily prevent them putting it out to the slow ring.
Actually, while we're on that, I ought to mention, do you remember not last week, but the week before, my Windows 10 machine crashed.
Yeah.
Midway through the show. I actually traced that down. It wasn't anything to do with Windows 10, it turned out. It was overheating. And it really sort of, I can't write the word for it, but going back in time to the origins of terminology, I actually had a bug in my machine. I had some sort of moth or that sort of creature had actually flown into the fan in the graphics card and jammed it. So the graphics card was overheating, and I thought I was getting problems every time I tried to do anything graphically, and that was what's happening. So there you go. You never can tell what problems are actually caused.
Yeah. While we're on that topic, I also have a confession. I said the other week that my Windows 10 had crashed completely. Actually, it was my display unit, because it's plugged into both the Surface and my desktop PC, and actually it switched inputs.
Now that's a schoolboy one.
I know. I hang my geek hat in shame.
As my kids would say, well, I'll get some from PC World to come and help you then.
No.
That is bad. I tell you, I've had real issues with this current build though with my Touch Smart. I mean, it all works and everything, but you can't unlock it without using a keyboard. And I don't have a keyboard permanently connected to it, and not done since Vista was on it. So it's a real pain. So I've had to put a keyboard on there now. So I think the days of that touch smart are numbered now. It's very slow and lots of things don't work on it. So I think one or two more pieces need to drop into place around how I store my music and for the Sonos, and then I think that's kind of that machine could go then. And I think we probably just won't have a central touchscreen, because I think I only really ever use it for music ripping and controlling the Sonos. So there's lots of other ways of doing that now. So I may just get rid of that and do the music ripping up here in my office, and then have no touchscreen. I did think about putting the Surface 2 there as a touchscreen in its place, but of course you can't stick the Sonos controller app on it, so it's no much point really.
No, that's an excuse to buy that Surface 3.
Yeah,
That's kind of feels like the end of an era. Ian's touch smart being
we can't let that go. It's got to make it all the way to Windows 11.
Yes, I wonder if I can keep it going a bit longer.
Yeah, Redstone
on there. Yeah,
yeah, Redstone. Actually, interesting. That brings us into the touch stuff, doesn't it? Because talking about leaks, there's been this leak of the touchscreen, the next build of the tablet thing, which actually sounds quite good.
Yeah, go on. So what do we see on that?
So, well, obviously this is leak, and there's no guarantee this is all in there, but there's basically saying that the start bar disappears, everything's full screen, and it sounds like it's working much more like the Windows 8.1 touchscreen, with things swiping in from the side and back, and to swap between apps. And
hang on, sorry. I think I can hear Josh Pollard cheering.
I don't think he'll be cheering yet. It's still got
not yet, no.
Notification on the right hand side, and some of the layout is still vertical rather than horizontal. But I think it is a good move back towards the 8.1 stuff, and maybe we should expect that, really. I mean, changes are not that difficult to do in some ways. It's got the transparency with the desktop, and there's apparently a really nice animation the way it goes into the start menu comes up. Over the top of things when you actually over the top of the desktop background when you switch back to the start menu. So it sounds like it's going to be a better experience on touch, and I'm wondering if that actually might go back to touch smart, because maybe they've also sorted out the touch screen login as well, because I must admit that with the last two builds that's been pretty well broken.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's been a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, I'd like to see those, because I think since I put the Encore 8 onto Windows 10, it's not as convenient. It's not as fast at just picking it up and browsing or picking it up. I used Twitter and Tweetium and Flipboard quite a lot on that. You pick it up, have a quick flip through, and put it back down again. And it's turned into a kind of clunky experience, especially since you've got to hold down the power and unlock and all these things in it. So it would be nice to see sort of a nod back to the touch fans, because we've got used to the touch experience and the full screen experience, and from that respect, I'm using the Surface Pro 3 here with Windows 8 on it and 8.1 on it, and it's perfectly fine, the user experience. If you want to print something out, you just swipe in 2 presses and you're there, and then you go to Windows 10 and everything just seems to be a lot more fiddly. But as we've said, it's because of the re-emphasis on the desktop. And they need to get those. I understand they need to get those people in, maybe at a little bit at the expense of the touch fans like us. But then if they can, they can improve that, then great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think what else on the phone was. So that was my main experience on the phone. Anyway, you can see the direction they're going, and you can see sort of the parts dropping in over time. It's just the experience on this 630 is not that good. I couldn't live with it on my main phone, but it's not that far off. But I do wonder whether it does seem to be a lot further behind than the desktop, so whether this will be much later.
Well, they've said summer, which seems like a very ambitious target. Yeah,
it does, but especially when you see it in operation, you can see boxes that don't fit and things. And a part of that is, I guess, is because this is a new experience for us, isn't it? Getting these early builds, especially on a phone. We're not used to seeing. We're used to testing beta versions of Windows Media Center back in the day when but on the phone, you're not really used to seeing in progress development and things changing build to build.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, someone did point out the other day that it's the first build for a while which will not have had Nokia's involvement in it, or at least as with the sort of the what do they put it, the Nokia philosophy of development involved in it, because they obviously were helping out quite a lot with the last two OSs, and the patch the service pack, or whatever we call them these days. So I think that there may be something in that, but also I think it's also the first real phone build which has been with the new testing methodologies in Microsoft, and we've seen that there's been some teething issues, I think, with those, and testing hasn't perhaps been as good as it was previously, but that is equally means we can get things out faster out the door. So there is always a trade-off for those two things.
Yeah, I think in some ways it kind of shows how unforgiving us enthusiasts are, because these are really earlier builds than we would normally have ever had hands-on time with.
Yeah,
and yet we're still tearing it to pieces.
Well, I think also there's an issue really with the whole thing with the fact that this is being put out on the phone in a similar mechanism to the developer previews was, but it's nothing like the developer preview program. And I think people have got very confused between the two. And if there was a whole Twitter stream about this the other day, and you have to remember this Insider program is very early builds. The developer preview builds were finished builds when they went out.
They were, yeah.
They just went out before they could get through the operators. I mean, these builds we're getting now would get nowhere near the operators. Thrown out the door before they even started. But they're equally definitely not the same as the preview build. So we have to accept that these Insider builds are very early. What it does worry me though is that aggressive summer timescale. I don't see it at the moment, seeing what we've got.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about that at length, haven't we? That's looking tighter and tighter. They should really be getting feature sets locked down and getting fit and finish, and maybe that's where this rumours about Redstone comes in. That maybe that is there right now. Let's start cutting features and transferring them to a future big update.
So we better explain what Redstone is, because we all know what it is, but some listeners may not.
Yeah, so I think it was NeoWin, wasn't it, that wrote the story first. Then Mary Jo Foley followed up with her sources confirming that there is an update to Windows 10, which sounds odd given it hasn't even shipped yet, but in the Windows Phone world we're kind of used to that. But yeah, so it should be, if the rumours kind of turn out to be true, that it will be a next big update to following the general availability of Windows 10. So I guess features that don't make it into that final release to manufacture build, or features that are kind of in the follow-on. It seems to be that the rumours aren't that it will necessarily be Windows 11. I don't think we'll necessarily ever see Windows 11 and 12, but it will, Windows 10 could potentially be the branding, assuming it doesn't get soiled in the way that Vista and Windows 8 have been. I imagine that's a brand they're going to just keep running with, a bit like, it's just iOS, isn't it? All right, there are version numbers, but yes, I think in some ways, so I go back to what I was saying about builds of Windows 10. I mean, yeah, I think it is starting to look more and more ambitious. They are going to have to start cutting things back. But I also think that while it's been emphasised that these are early preview builds, much, much earlier than we'd normally get, that, you really don't want to put it on your daily machine. I think, like you said, a bit like with the Windows Phone developer preview, we've been so spoilt with Windows 7 and Windows 8 beta builds when they came out. They've been so stable. I think people have just assumed, oh well, of course they're going to put warnings and caveats about it, but I'm sure it'll be fine. But actually these are really early builds, and one of the things I think they got wrong again with the Windows Phone 10 preview that went out on Friday was, again, they made this big song and dance about, it's going to come out at this time on Friday, and that's all well and good. Everyone was getting impatient. I was watching Twitter in the kind of 10 minutes, 5 minutes leading up to the release of the build. And then they released the build with release notes that saying there's a problem with MMS. So really what we want you to do is go back to Windows 8, Windows Phone 8, and then upgrade again to Windows 10. And I think I saw Paul Thrott going, oh, great, here I am, we're still going back. And so, I think that could have been communicated a bit sooner.
Yeah. But then we've had this discussion, haven't we? They may not have known that until the last minute, or and
yes,
that's really the problem with this, because we've got people who are and I think in some ways the developer preview program has blown back, because there's people out there who are effectively end users who are expecting these builds to be as good as the developer preview, and though they're trying to communicate that, I don't think the press is doing them any favors, because they're building this excitement about these new builds coming out because they have to have something to write about, and in some ways, I don't want to see them close down the test program, because I think it's brilliant that we've got this out, and it really does help getting out to as many people as possible, because you get all the edge cases and things like that. But in some ways, maybe these phone bills should be going to a narrower set of people.
Yeah, I like the transparency. I just think it's interesting to see the development progress, but like you said, there are warnings on there, and some people don't necessarily take heed of the warnings. But I've not really heard anybody really complaining too bad that it's crashed their main work systems. I mean, if you're going to start,
you haven't looked at some of the forums on some of the on the Windows Phone sites.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about they're putting out these warnings, but we've been spoiled, so people just kind of throw it to one side. In some ways, I think it would be quite nice if there was 3 rings that kind of a tech press ring that didn't have an NDA with it, and then a fast ring, and then a slow ring. And I think then at least we'd have people, the big tech bloggers like Ed Bott and Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott, and those kind of people actually being honest and open and saying, I've been using this build for a week and it's really not stable enough, and that almost kind of build up expectations.
Yeah. But then you get protests. Well, they've got it. Why haven't we got it?
Yeah, exactly. But in some ways, though, that would have the message of, because if it did prove to be stable, then release it to the fast ring with relative speed. But at least it would set kind of expectations, because Microsoft don't necessarily want it. They can't really be seen to be openly negative about this build. Yes, they post release notes, but they can't really be saying, this crashes every 10 minutes, or Windows Explorer has to restart every 5 minutes. They don't want to be posting that kind of information.
No, but I think whatever you do, if you release one build to one set of people, you like Gary said, you're going to have somebody else, another set of people. So, well, we want that as well. So I think probably the fast and slow is probably the best compromise they can get at the moment.
Yes, yeah, I think so. But I mean, again, I'm not using Windows 10 on my desktop on a daily basis, but it does feel like the builds are kind of slowly improving. I mean, yes, so Spartan might not be as stable as we'd like it to be, but that is the first time we've got our hands on it. So, there are going to be issues, and and also, flipping it around, glass half full. The more we use these systems, the more they crash on us, the more bugs we report, the more stable, hopefully, the end product will be.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know how they're actually sifting the triaging reports. I mean, I've done some triage on some pretty major projects, some with sort of hundreds of thousands of potential users reporting issues, and it becomes really difficult to actually spend more time triaging the issues than you actually do fixing them. So I'm not quite sure how they're doing that, if they're just using the automatic telemetry, or they're actually taking on board the insider comments and looking at them. So they must have some mechanism in place to do that, because things are getting fixed. It just seems that some things get broken in the process of fixing other things, but that's always an issue you're going to have. So I struggle to see how they can make these aggressive timescales with the level of information they're getting on problems.
Well, I can actually reveal some insider information on that. They're actually processing it all on the SQL clusters running on my server, on my Surface.
That would actually make sense. It'd be very efficient. And portable, so the whole team.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
They can take it with them when they go home at the weekends and read it all your comments. Yeah, so the other interesting thing about the phone release was, do you remember when they said they would release on Tuesdays or Thursdays?
Yep.
Yes.
And so far we've had Monday and Friday.
Yeah, I mean the original Windows 10 preview in January was a Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think they've done one on a Monday and one one on a Friday.
Classic misinformation.
Yes, I know what I know.
If they release it on a Tuesday or Thursday, then you should download it because it'd be a good build.
Yes, I know. Wherever I've worked, my policy's always been no releases on a Friday or a Monday. So they're clearly throwing caution to the wind.
Yep.
Yeah, I always have that Friday afternoon. In fact, it's for my businesses. It's Friday afternoons our busiest time of the week anyway. So that's a definite no. We never do anything on a Friday afternoon. Don't touch anything.
I guess with a guaranteed unstable release or a release which is could be unstable and has been flagged as such, it doesn't matter if you release it on a Friday because you're not going to fix it over the weekend anyway.
Yes, very
it
true.
Seems to be the most issues they have is around deployment, though, isn't it? That was the thing on Friday, so I guess they were scrambling to sort of fix the deployment issue.
Yeah, that probably wasn't a good thing on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah,
Definitely not. Although Friday morning, their time, really.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So we never know. We might have a new build by the time we release this on Thursday, or we could have nothing for a few weeks. We just really don't know, do we?
No, you never know.
No point predicting.
Although, what was the last build? It was 2 builds in March, wasn't it?
Yep.
So in actual fact, we haven't had a build in April.
No, we're halfway through, aren't we?
Yeah, that will start kicking off on Twitter tomorrow.
Yeah.
15 days.
Yeah.
Half a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like those signs that you have, 7 days since the last fatality or whatever it is. The business have. Yeah, so 15 days since the last build.
Yeah. I
think it's in The Simpsons, isn't it? Since they have like one stroke and then they take it off, don't they, when there's a rip? Is it the titles? Right, what else I wanted to try and make sure we talked about? Oh, I tell you what, we haven't talked about since the release with the new music and video apps.
Oh yes, the previews. We snuck them in at the end of a program and then never about them again.
Like you said, we mentioned at the end of the previous show before the Gadget Show that they were just been released. In fact, you just said it as we were sort of wrapping up.
Yeah.
So have you had a chance to have a play with these?
I'm using them as my daily driver for music at the moment. I quite like the new preview. I'm not totally sure about the new layout, but the album art looks great because it's properly squared off and it looks really crisp and there's no wording over it. It's all wording under it. So I like that.
There's not a huge amount of changes in this release yet, though, is there?
No, there isn't. I mean, there's a few bits and pieces. There's some oddities which it's sometimes difficult to actually work out how you would switch between modes. Say, if you look in your collection, how you change between an album view and an artist view and that sort of thing, which is different from the previous way. The now playing screens changed slightly as well, which is quite. It doesn't always seem to update properly, so there are a few glitches with it, but there are some nice layout changes. I think it's signs of things to come. The fact it's a universal app as well is quite interesting. Did that make it onto the new?
No, it didn't.
Okay, so that's not there yet. So I like the import playlists thing. I mean, that was one thing I suddenly noticed. I had tons of playlists appear which I hadn't had previously. Which were all associated with iTunes.
Right, which brought those in.
It brought all those in. So that was actually quite good because I set a lot of because I say they're associated with iTunes, but I actually created them in JRiver. So they were my JRiver playlists, which meant I've got a lot of stuff which I'd previously set up and were really useful now in there. So I have had it crashes a couple of times, which you kind of expect with beta these days, and it just locks up. But generally, I've been quite impressed with it. I mean, what I have noticed, and this happens a lot, is this is what I was saying about sometimes you can't work out how to switch between views. I lose the tag at the top, which you've got the artist albums and songs.
Right,
it just disappears, and all you've got is your list of music, and you can't seem to get it back. The other thing I really don't like is that tag disappears off the top when you're scrolling through music. And with my massive collection of music, it'd take me about half an hour to get back up to the top to find it, to change it.
I noticed it seemed to be a bit easy as well to identify where it was local music, stream music, or OneDrive music.
Yes, that is very much easier to work out. So that's good. I mean, one thing I have noticed is that we were talking about the fact that the music match disappeared, and I've not there's some music I've not got on my OneDrive. In fact, quite a lot of music I haven't got on my OneDrive. And since I've moved over to this preview, that's now reappeared on my phone.
Right.
So, and that must be through some form of music match, because it's it's not anywhere else. So I'm guessing.
Is that stuff that maybe previously matched?
I guess it was, but it had disappeared for a while. It wasn't showing up.
Got it, yeah.
So when Josh was talking about the music match had disappeared, it had disappeared on the phone, but it's now come back. Now that may be totally coincidental. It may be nothing to do with me actually choosing this version, but it definitely happened at the same time. So.
Yeah, because I've still got match music in the cloud, but I say that on the Windows 10 preview music app, there isn't any way to switch it on to say match my music.
Yeah,
so anything that was matched previously should certainly still be there. That's why there's this option to delete duplicate content, but it does seem strange that you had stuff that wasn't there and then was there. But then
yeah,
that might have even been these stupid streaming rights that maybe disappeared and then came back again.
I suspect you may well be right, and maybe they've got different streaming rights in this new version of the software.
Yes, actually, just get on my soapbox for a moment. We're talking about movie rights and stuff. Richard Gunther over on Entertainment 2.0 has an excellent post which using the Star Wars movies just to highlight the complete.
Actually, I was going to mention this because
a
listener actually sent me a link to his article. I think maybe that's where that's what Richard was referring to as well. Eric Gillott said he's a long-term listener, and I'll include a link in the show notes. But exactly the same thing. Basically, the Star Wars and the digital licensing mess that they've got into, and go back on your soapbox.
No, I mean, I don't want to distract from what Gary was saying, but it just, it could well be that the music, was there and then wasn't there, and this digital rights is just changing all the time with licensing deals expiring and them getting renewed or not renewed, or artists choosing to withdraw their music. It's just, the whole thing is just still a mess, even today.
Yeah, and getting more of a mess. And I think that whole Star Wars thing does show that off to perfection. I mean, the bottom line on that is basically every episode except for episode 1. What is now has the right to distribute, but episode 1 is still distributed by episode 4.
Episode 4, yeah.
Yeah, I'm old school. I'm old school. I'm
yeah,
old school.
The first movie.
The first movie. So New Hope has they named it to Star Wars.
Yes, Star Wars.
Let's get it right. Yeah. It's still owned by Fox, so they're distributed through two DRM different methods. One supports I mean, it's crazy because you've got Disney with their own locker, but the whole point, the whole DRM thing is particularly on video, is a complete mess and needs sorting. And that's one thing. While we're on the subject of new apps, of course, we've got the new video app, and it'd be nice to see Ultraviolet in there.
Yes, I would still, I still really want Microsoft to introduce Ultraviolet support, and also just go back to the Star Wars movie. So 6 movies, one of which is the rights are owned by someone else. And interesting, I noticed Richard was talking about Ultraviolet rights, depending on where you purchase it from. Well, Blinkbox that I was raising the flag for with their now support for Ultraviolet, and also actually noticed Sainsbury's video service supports it as well. But I just looked on the Blinkbox site, and Star Wars: A New Hope doesn't include Ultraviolet rights, but yet it would do in the States
on some channels.
On some channels, yes. Which is, as Richard said, it's just the poster child for how terrible this whole situation is, especially with Disney's system using their Disney Anywhere. But if you buy it through Vudu, then you can still play it through. Although it's in the Disney Anywhere locker, it's actually also including your Google locker. And
I've got very little sympathy for Disney on this, because they could have solved this whole matter by signing up for Ultraviolet years and years back, and I really don't see the advantage of them not doing so.
Absolutely. And again, just to highlight this, I mentioned this going back a while now, but Pulp Fiction was one that I banded about as being in the Xbox Video Store, as it was then, and still is, I guess, but that Pulp Fiction said no longer available after 31st of December. I think this was 2012 or 2013, I think. And yes, lo and behold, it disappeared from the video store. Well, it's back now with no expiration date that I can see anyway. But I think it's one of our favourite movies, but I think if I buy that, I'll probably buy it through Blinkbox, because I think that does include ultraviolet rights.
Still, the most reliable way is to get the DVD or Blu-ray, copy it to your server, and then use some media browser, MB or Plex or something like that. And it's crazy that is the easier way, and in some ways cheaper. I mean, I don't get. I think it is a mess. So if you look at what you do with Sky now, if you want to, you can buy a movie from Sky and they post you the DVD as well. And in some ways, that's a much simpler solution, because all they now have to do is put the disc in the server here. It rips in. It's available on media browser, on Plex. So, and there's clients for everything. But I mean, this could be solved by any one of the big players just going cross-platform. And Microsoft could solve it by making Xbox Video work on every platform. Like they're doing with other things, including music.
Yeah, although the main reason why I'm such a fan of Ultraviolet is that it's independent of the music of the service that you bought the movie from, because that's always my worry. I mean, again, the Pulp Fiction is a good example. And if I bought that from Xbox Video, but it included Ultraviolet rights, even when it disappeared from the Xbox Video store, I'd still have a way to obtain that film. And I think, particularly with movies, I mean, movies aren't cheap. New releases are in the UK, kind of £13-14 for a HD. That's a lot of money that you're gambling on that service not disappearing. And I think in some ways it's better because services have stabilized. They don't disappear like they used to in the old Place for Sure. And many different music services have kind of come and gone in terms of purchasing music. MSN Music was a good example, where they sent out emails saying, we're closing the service, it's been shuttered, you need to download your music by this date or lose it. And then you reformatted your PC and you lost the license. And so I think, as I say, for movies, when they are so expensive, you need some kind of guarantee that you're not going to lose access to that movie. I mean, all right, Star Wars, we've probably all bought the movies at least 10 times, but it's that's kind of an edge case.
Yeah. It is still a massive mess, and it's why I like Netflix, because it just works, and you don't have to worry what I can pick any device. I don't have to worry about number of device limits either. That's the other thing. You don't have to think, I've got 4 devices authorized, and it'll allow 2 concurrent streaming sessions. So I'm watching one, the kids can watch one, or you can pay extra, I think, and have 4. And it's so simple. I know you don't get offline payback and you don't get your own collection, but it's an example of how, if you make it simple, it works and people pay for it.
Yes, yeah. Although even Netflix make announcements every now and again saying that, these are the list of movies that we're losing rights to. So
all the time.
But as you say, with those, you haven't purchased them, so you kind of accept that as the kind of movement of the tides. But it's just it is still a mess. And in this day and age, MP3s, music that you purchase, is not protected anymore. I know movies are a bigger deal, and maybe we'll never get to that point where they're not protected, but there needs to be, the film studios just need to get together, get a service that just, protects consumers at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll include a link to the post as well that we're talking about. So
yes,
include that in the show notes. It's well worth reading, because it is a mess.
Yes.
Definite mess. Anyway, so going back to Xbox Music and Video. so Xbox the Xbox Music Review. It's hard to explain what is actually new in there, but it just feels a bit fresher. The playlist support is there, which is really good. I've found it a bit more reliable than the old version as well. It seems to work a bit better. Explorations there. The radio works better than it did previously. Start a station, etc. And as you say, Ian, it's a lot easier to see what's in the cloud and what's not in the cloud. And I actually discovered I've got tracks which are showing up from the cloud in albums, and it's quite interesting because I've got the album and the album hasn't got that track on it.
Right.
which is kind of weird, but there we go. I think it must be a different version of the album they've got on their match service or whatever. And that's another example of where but that's another example of an album I actually added fairly recently, post the idea of this music match having disappeared, and it's actually added a track into that on my local collection.
I think the OneDrive upload is working quite well. I mean, like I said, I have the subscription, so I kind of expected all my music to be there after it matched. But there were a few albums that you can't buy, I think one of them was the Pink Floyd. Is there anybody out there Wall Live? It's not available to any of the stores, I don't think. So, and I'd ripped that, and that never showed up. And then, of course, it just showed up once I copied it to OneDrive. So things like that are good. And I think maybe that solved the AC/DC problem you had, Jason.
I'm sure it would do if I could upload anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It just needs a bit more bandwidth.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I uploaded 26 gig in, what was it, a day or something like that, I think.
Yeah. I think it's funny, actually. I took the kids out to the park on Sunday, and I got home and my wife was watching, I think, ITV Player or iPlayer in the kitchen on a Surface Pro 2. And we'd been home for about 5 minutes, and a video started. Did you take any pictures or video? Yeah, I took a video. She goes, "Oh, it's uploading, isn't it?" And of course, as soon as it connects to my Wi-Fi, my phone starts synchronizing the video up to OneDrive, which just kills any streaming. The one thing we find is actually our download bandwidth isn't too bad. I mean, yeah, it's only 4 megabit, but it's actually, if anything's uploading, it just floods the upload.
Yeah,
and that just kills the latency and any chance of streaming anything down.
Yeah, I remember that.
Need a better router.
Yeah, I need to run a very long cable somewhere, I think.
There's just no easy solution for it. I mean, I really do feel your pain because I've been there.
Yeah.
There's just no solution. I've tried, different face plates and all sorts of things to try and boost the speed, and nothing works until you get the fiber.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the faceplate, and the router's now has been on the master socket for a few years, and that definitely helped. But see, now you get at me on a second soapbox now. What really irks me is it is so painful, especially with kids growing up, wanting to watch YouTube. Yeah. Dreadful stuff. Well, not dreadful, I'm being harsh. Stumpy cat videos. They are growing up as the internet generation, and it's not so much that we haven't got fiber, it's the fact we're not going to get fiber till maybe 2018, 2019. That's a million years in technology times.
Yeah.
Cities are talking about 100 megabit internet connections, and it's just wrong that we're being left behind.
Yeah, you take it for granted, and just like I said with the Windows 10 build, I don't know how big it was, but it was not something I even crossed my mind. I think I just got it as fast as the server could give it. Or if there's a new Windows 10 desktop at 3 gig or whatever, if I just download it, I'm not really worried about it. But I do remember in the past, I think, well, how am I going to get this build down?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I tend to kick them off overnight just so it doesn't impact what people are doing.
And it also affects these media services we're talking about as well. Netflix and Sky, the Sky on Demand stuff. And I can request a HD episode, and that it's available to view in 10 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that, because they do the thing where you can start watching it while it's still downloading. So it's almost instant like streaming, but it's actually downloaded. But it's just things like that just aren't possible, and I do feel it's very frustrating. And like you said with the kids, we're used to. We can remember dial-up and we can remember pre-internet, but they can't. They're just used to it. And like you said, my kids, I see them sat and they're just watching YouTube videos of the guy talking about a film that they, and they'll watch a whole thing. But that's their entertainment.
Yes,
they're just used to that, having that permanent connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to call Thunderbirds.
Yeah. Now, before we go, just a few other things I wanted to mention as well. Do you see that the Windows 10 store, the Beta Store app, has added movie and TV content in there now?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, when Gary was talking, that it's not only the music apps that have changed, the whole buying experience has changed.
Yeah.
I don't think they're linked up yet, are they?
No, they're not yet.
Yeah, I think that's coming.
And just at the moment, you still can't buy anything in the apps. So
yeah.
But I don't know if you will be able to buy anything in the apps, or it'll be all done through the store.
Yeah, I think
I'm not expecting. Yeah,
I've just got to tell you this. I was just scrolling through the playlist it's added, and I've got TV recorded in the last week in the music app.
Media Centre's alive.
Yes. I'm talking to Media Centre. The almost Media Centre. Xbox One has got digital TV support for in US and Canada.
Yep, not cable card though. So
no,
over-the-air stuff.
Yeah, and not with a dedicated tuner like we've got over here.
No, it's using the Hawkage box, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
Which is an interesting approach, and they've done a partnership with Hawkage over there, so they're not actually producing anything themselves.
Yeah.
But then again, that's how they did Media Centre in the first place.
Yeah.
So.
I have to say, I mean, it surprised me when the Xbox One TV tuner in the UK and Europe launched, because it surprised me that they'd actually bothered building their own hardware. I really thought that they would just partner with, because at the end of the day, it's just a USB tuner.
Yeah,
it would have made more sense to actually partner with somebody, because that's what I was expecting until I realised it was their own hardware.
Maybe we've got more chance of getting recording now that it's available in the States and there's a bigger market for it.
That would be nice.
They don't seem to be that interested in recording.
No.
Comments I've been hearing, but we'll see.
We'll see. Now, what else?
I think if that came and I suggested let's start using the Xbox One like we used to use Media Center, the first question I'm going to get asked is, how reliable is the guide data? I can use Skybox primarily. I don't really notice it now, but it does seem to be okay. But I haven't put it through the sort of rigorous series recording and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll be able to really say. That was always the main problem.
Yeah, a couple of things. The Microsoft Band is out in the UK now. If you're listening to this show and we go out on Thursday, it was yesterday, or if you're listening live, then it's tomorrow.
Yeah, and shipping notices have gone out.
Yeah. So I have got a post, or will have a post up of sort of good apps to find, because I've got quite a good collection of them now, and including Android as well. So if you're getting a Band and you've got, or if you're thinking of getting a Band and you've got an Android phone, you're not been left out since the SDK's launched. There are quite a few apps, and some of the best ones like Pimp My Band are available on Android. So the post that will be going up on Wednesday shows you, has a link to those apps as well. So it's definitely worth having a look at those. And I still like my Microsoft Band. You can do selfies with it.
I did like Richard Hayes' tweet I saw earlier, I think about 6 o'clock, I think it was, saying he put out saying, I see that I'm starting to see from my Twitter stream that hipping notices have been sent out for the Microsoft Band.
No, very on hip. No,
yeah, they are hip.
They should be wristing notices.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Make me smile.
Yeah, definitely. So quite a lot of the Band apps have been updated recently. There's loads more customization, and the Air Guitar app has now got banjo settings on it.
That's what we need.
So that is the thing I've been waiting for. So you can now AirPlay the banjo now, and I think that was really all the stories I did. There's a few media browser or MB stories around. Oh, I mentioned as well, Plex is now free for Windows, but you can only play for a minute of content. So you still need to sort of buy the service or buy the features or use Plex Pass, but at least you can give it a try now. So that's well worth checking on. Although MB, Plex, or whatever, there's a lot of choice you've got now for your services. And I think that's all the time we've got for this week. So hopefully we'll be back normal time next week. So Gary, what have you got coming up on Fascinating Tech?
I've got something coming up on Fascinating Tech, which may actually end up in next week's show. So off next Tuesday, I'm off to visit Entotem, which I can never pronounce. They are the manufacturer of the Plato system I reviewed at the Bristol Audio Show and mentioned on the show a few weeks ago. This is the thing which rips and streams virtually anything. In high definition audio, and even allows you to rip records and all sorts of things. So I'm going to visit their production line, actually see one of the first production units off the line, and have a play with it and actually talk to the guys. So I will probably be putting some interviews in next week's show with some of the team.
Excellent.
And when I spoke to them on the show, the designer of this is incredibly knowledgeable about audio stuff. So I think it'd be really interesting to listen to.
Excellent. And Jace, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at DatabaseJace.
And you've got your post, excellent post up there. So definitely,
yeah, I must read.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Even if you don't have a Surface, then but if you are into SQL development or a SQL database admin, then it's definitely well worth reading, because you can use the same techniques on any Intel processor-based laptop that supports Hyper-V.
Yeah, you can, and of course Hyper-V is fixed now, so potentially fixed, isn't it? So, but I still wouldn't update that Surface Pro feed just yet.
No, I am holding fire, but I'm starting to get more and more itchy.
Yeah, hold fire for now. And leave that for now. So we'll be back next week, usual time. Catch us on YouTube, on Twitter, IS Dixon. If you like the show, go and rate us on iTunes as well. That would help. And subscribe to us on YouTube. So we'll be back and we'll see you then.
Yeah, okay. Cheerio. Speak to you next week.
Great stuff. That went quick.